it's time to mow. But which one do I choose? Which one do I use? Let's get started. They all have their individual quirks and traits, and in this video I'll share with you what I found are their pros and cons. Which one would you use? Lawnmower, ride-on mower, zero turn, or a lawn tractor? Comment below if you have any of these and which one would be your choice for your dream homestead, or if you have a homestead, what you use. Let's see. Join me as I go through our wonderful lawn cutter tribute. First up we have the old faithful whippersnipper, the smallest of them all. We actually got a 4-stroke one. I can explain that one for you. I love 4 strokes more than 2 strokes. 2 strokes and I have a hate-hate relationship. But 4 strokes always work for me, always start reliably, so that's why I went with a 4-stroke. This one you can change the shafts out. This came with a long extension pole and a chainsaw. It also has a disc and everything. As you can see, the cord is a bit how to do. No explanations needed for this. It's around trees, along the edges of the shack and buildings, underneath stationary vehicles, the chook pens, etc. For us, it's a must-have on our homestead. Next up is the lawnmower. This one's an 18-inch. One thing I can tell anyone that wants to get into homesteading, if you're going to get a lawnmower, get a bigger deck. 18-inch, it's useful, but it could be better. The bigger you can get the deck, the better. It makes a huge difference. But this is so handy for quick little jobs. You can use a catcher to collect all the cuttings if you want to use it for compost, etc. If you've got a short, brief little job, it's easy. It's not a must-have on a homestead, but it's a bonus having it here. Next in size is a 42-inch deck on this ride-on mower. Ride-on mowers are good, especially if you don't have flat country, as I'll explain with the other ones. But a ride-on mower on the uneven ground, ups and downs, excellent. Doesn't have the greatest turning circle, but just having that little bit of a bigger deck helps. This was our second cutter on the block. First one we got for the homestead was actually the tractor. This is handy. It's so easy to just hop on, start, and away you go. Get out there and get into the rougher stuff without having to mess around with the tractor. The deck has a lot to be desired. It probably is because of the age of it. Needs new blades to make a big difference. They're okay at the moment. As with anything, when the grass gets too long, they all struggle. This one doesn't do too bad a job. If you've got a homestead or a block that's not flat, it's a little bit rough, undulating, ups and downs, hills, yeah, this is a good option. Still gets used regularly. We only just got this last week, the Zero Turn. A big 50-inch deck, very big deck. Mrs. Wild has really wanted one of these. It came up on auction last week at a steal, so we dove on it. We got it. Believe it or not, all it needed was a battery. This thing is doing really well. Round the orchard, flat ground, I don't think you could go past a Zero Turn. They are damn good, comfortable, easy. Mrs. Wild has a bit of a problem with her shoulder. This thing, she just handles it no problem. Spent most of her weekend so far on this, loving it. Again, not good for rough terrain, slopes. It got bogged once already, they're pretty heavy. If you've got a flat homestead or reasonably flat, not too many divots and ruts, could you really look past a Zero Turn? They are pricey though, but in the end, happy. Here it is, the last of the lot, or lawn tractor, an actual tractor. This thing's 4-wheel drive. It has a Cat 1 3-point linkage. It has the under tractor mower deck. That is a 60-inch deck. This cuts a lot of ground very quickly. Part of its downside because of this thing's age. It's a pain to start up every morning. It's got to have the battery on the charge because there's no alternator. They're all faults of this machine itself. If you've got a machine that's newer and you've got a large property, then this would be ideal. It would really be a handy thing to have. Having the under tractor deck, I actually like more than having something behind because you can see how much clearance you got between obstacles. You don't have a big slasher on the back swinging around as you turn. It's so much easier. Unfortunately, for this specific tractor, it's very limited. It is so old. It's from the 70s, this thing. It doesn't have a thermostat, doesn't have a temperature gauge. It actually whistles to tell you that it's boiling. I kid you not, it's like a kettle. When it starts whistling, take her home. The four-wheel drive system is brilliant. It really makes a difference. As I said, this is, I think, 16 or 17 horsepower. If you're going to get a lawn tractor, proper tractor, not a ride-on, an actual lawn tractor, try and get something that's at least 20, 21 horsepower. You can make use of a lot more on the 3-point linkage. You can get a lot more done, and if this could run all day, I'd run it all day. Unfortunately, here in this subtropical environment, I get 15 to 30 minutes before it needs to sit down and cool. So there you have it. They're our, excluding this, 4 mowers. If I could choose only 2, which one would they be? Here's what I would choose based on where we are. We've got slopes, rocky ground, ruddy ground, some flat ground. If I could only have 2, to be honest, I'd take those 2. They all have their place. The mower won't get used as much now that we have these 3, but the mower will stay here for a bit longer. The slasher, of course, it's different to these, but it is a must-have. Again, I can go through them. Lawnmower, if that's all you've got, that's all you've got. Ride-on mowers, great for uneven ground, not the best turning circle, but they'll get the job done. Zero-turn mowers, Mrs. Wild's favourite. Great for flat ground, even with a slight slope. They do well. People will push them on steeper slopes, that's their prerogative. But when it comes to flat ground, weaving amongst trees and that, you can't go past this. This is brilliant. The lawn tractor. You got a big acreage? Well worth it. You got a massive 60-inch deck, 4-wheel drive, the ability to hook up implements on the back and do more than just mow. Really good idea. Excellent for rough terrain. I've been on some pretty steep slopes with this thing. Apart from it being this old beast, done well. If I had a newer one, I'd be much happier. Be aware, if you look at one of these, make sure it's got an alternator and make sure it's got a thermostat and a temperature gauge. If you can mow for a whole day, make a big difference. And what we each, as I go through our jib, you can make use, this subtropical